Even all, welcome back to the Car UK channel. Right, today I'm going to show you two vehicles that I purchased recently from an online auction, and this might demonstrate the pitfalls of buying from online auctions, something that I have mentioned before on the channel. My record of buying from online auctions is a little bit hazy, but sometimes needs must, and generally 9 times out of 10 I do okay with it. Like I said, you always have to have a degree of caution. However, I think I've come a cropper this time with my latest two purchases. One of them I think is alright, although it's not quite as described, but even so we'll still get out of it with our trousers on and probably make a nice little profit out of it. But the other one could be a disaster. It could actually be opening up a can of worms with this, which we'll go further into as we have a look round it. Now, the reason I decided to buy these cars sort of blind, well, simple. I was actually away on holiday, a little bit bored, needed stock back at the pitch, and decided stupidly to go online and start buying stuff from an online auction. And hey presto, we've now got a problem. So anyway, let's go and have a look at the two cars, show you the good one first, which I think we'll do all right with, and the disaster i10, which I think is going to hit us really, really hard. Let's go and take a look. Right, now here are the two cars in question, both from the same auction. So, on the left we have a 2014 mirror capture, and on the right we have a potential can of worms being a 2013 plate, sorry, 14 actually, on a 63 Hyundai i10, which actually when I bought it I was really pleased about, but there's probably a good reason why it was on, say, the cheaper end, as we'll get to later on. So anyway, let's start with the positive car first, which is this very bright 2014 capture. This is a 1.5 diesel model in a nice blue colour, and it's a decent spec as well, which has got tablets in, etc. And it's actually a decent spec as well, as we'll show you around in a second. Now this was bought for, I think it's just over £3,000 with the fees, as a retail of about 4,695 on it. Obviously done, dusted, as in all cleaned up. So for the money I've paid for it so far, you've got a nice markup there. You've got potentially, well, nearly £1,700 of potential profit. However, you're gonna have to spend money on it, so don't assume for 1 minute that I'm going to make 1,700 quid out of it. That's probably going to get slashed to about half that time you're actually done and paid the VAT man his cut, because he always needs his money. There's lots of roads to be fixed and stuff like that, obviously, all been put to good use. And sadly does need a little bit more money than I first envisaged, because not mechanically it's actually sound, but bodywork rise, it's a little bit letting down in a few places. It's going to need a trip to the paint shop just to have a few bits sorted out. Again, because the descriptions that was given on the listing online of the auction house I bought it off were just not accurate. They missed out a lot of the marks. So the reality is I am pretty much left picking up the pieces on it. Now, it's not the end of the world, as I'll show you, because actually not too bad actually what needs doing to it. Easily fixable, but it is obviously going to hit our margins. Now, the Capture itself is a really popular car, and it's actually something that I've been trying to buy for a while now, trying to get hold of these. They've started to come into my sphere, if you like, of under £5,000. And if I am going to buy them, generally I'm going to buy the diesels. There are petrol versions available, and I'm not against buying the odd petrol, but the 1.5 diesel's a good engine. I know where I stand with it, and around here, where we are in the northwest, people are still buying these diesels because they're cheap to run, and there's currently not many places where you're restricted in buying pre-Euro 6 diesels. So they say they're good sellers, and this is a nice spec with the right colour. Now, a few things that were missed off the listing. First of all, let me quite see here, look down here, there's a couple of little car park dings here. Now that isn't the end of the world, Dent Man would come in and fix them anyway. They're easily fixable, we can sort them out. A little bit of plastic trim down there. I think that was mentioned, that the little bit of plastic trim was broken there, so we'll forgive that. However, what wasn't mentioned was the damage here on the quarter. It did say there was a bit of damage, a scuff on the door, and it did say there was a scuff on the trim. It didn't mention that it was caught here and down there as well. So now we're going to have to take it to the paint shop. So we're going to have the trim redone, which is fine, the mini quarter done, which is this bit here, that's what we call the mini quarter, but it's also into the door. So we'll end up going to have to paint the door as well, and also the door has been previously painted, and it's not a terrible match, but you can just tell that it has been painted. It's not as good as I would like it to be, so we're going to have it painted and blended. You're going to have to do that anyway, because otherwise it'll stand out like a sore thumb. Get it all painted in, blended, and make it look nice again. So that is effectively there, between that door and that quarter and a couple of dints, has effectively just taken about the best part of 250 quid minimum out of the margin of this car. Now around the back of it, other than a little mark here and there, little stone chip, something will buff out, there's a little scuff there, it wasn't mentioned, but in fairness, that will buff out, so I can forgive that. The rest of the car isn't too bad, but this is the risk you have when buying from online auctions. The descriptions are only as good as the person looking at the car, and is obviously going to put that onto their page, onto their their description pages on the auction. So say you're basically working off someone else's view. It's never going to be the same as someone who's seasoned like myself, who's going to come down and have a look at it with a fresh pair of eyes, experience, and know what they're looking for. This is always the risk. Now, have a look inside quickly actually while we're here. The rest of it, oh, hang on, keyless entry, there we go, is actually all right. There is a zip missing off these special covers. These have got the these washable covers that come off. The seats are actually all good, there's just a zip missing, so we need to fix that. That's nothing, we can sort that out. Gear stick, we need a gear stick. That was mentioned, I was aware of that, all taped up, but that's again straightforward fix. 20 quid, get another gear knob for it. But everything else inside actually works fine. Plastics are all good, set of mats in it needed, nice fitted mats for it. Screens all working, electrics are all good, which is the main thing. And in the rear again, it's actually as described. So say all the seats are good, no issues on the back there, no plastics broken, all in good order. So in all, really, the time you take into the fact that you end up probably putting a cam belt on it, you end up probably putting brakes on it, maybe definitely wants a bit of suspension. I've heard a ball joint rattling or two when I pulled it off the truck. We'll have to spend a fair few £100 alone just on that, and then chucking the paint to it and a bit of VAT. Your margin is still on the good side. It's all right for us for that sort of level, but you can soon see how just a few things being misdescribed can effectively, well, not wipe out your budget, but can certainly dent your margins in these vehicles. We're not complaining, because at the end of the day we will make good money out of it, and it will be a popular seller. We'll get that sold pretty quick, I imagine, because we do get asked for these quite a lot actually, people coming in for captures, and it's the first one we've ever had, and it's a very good colour, probably the best colour you could get it in, so a decent spec, so we'll do all right with that. Now, one that we may not do all right with, although when I first bought it online the other day, sitting on my sun lounger in Malta in the sun, enjoying myself, I actually thought this was a cheap car, but it's not to be. There is a problem with it. So it is a 2014 on a 63 i10. It's done, I think it's done 70,000 miles. Check for you, could be wrong. I think I'll just double check. Does need a valet, by the way, but that's the least of the problems. 83, apologies, a bit more than 4. Done 83,000, but it is on a 14 plate car. Sorry, 14 reg car on a 63. 5-door, something like that, retail for us is about just over £3 grand, 31.95. We've sold a few of these recently, similar mileage. They all sort of do that money on 2014 63 plate models, stuff like that. And it's a clean car really. Wants a little bit of paint, which in fairness actually was described correctly, which is on the back arch here. But like I said, that didn't faze me, because the price you paid for this car with the fees, it was about just 1,700 quid, I think, maybe a couple of quid over. It was described as a clean car. Mechanically it was sound, stop, starts and goes as it should. Again, it was showed the rear arch there needs a little bit of paint on it, so again a mini quarter or mini rear arch quarter we're doing there. The numbers for me work quite well there. I'm thinking, well, we get the car, even worst case, and it's a little bit wrong on the paint, there's a little bit more to do. Let's say there's a bumper corner that's been missed, we could be, what, 200, 300 quid there into paint. That's £2 grand, a little bit of maintenance on it. We could easily be getting an excess of, well, maybe not quite £1 grand, but just under £1 grand out of it for a car that, again, bread and butter car, we can sell easily, and generally quite reliable. Generally quite reliable. There are 1 or 2 issues with i10s that can go wrong. Older ones can suffer with corrosion, particularly on subframes. Not so much on this year, it's generally older ones. And there is another issue, which is what I think potentially could be wrong with this, which we'll get onto later on. We're going to do a bit of a scan first to make sure that I'm on the right track with it, because something's not quite right with this. Someone has been a little bit naughty with this car. Again, misdescribed in the auction description. And also it gets worse as well, because another thing that wasn't picked up on the auction description, which you probably can't quite see, but I'll just try my best to show you. The paint there was missed. You can see a mark there. It's just here. It's actually lacquer peel. Now it's quite hard to see, and particularly if it was a bit wet, which it was in fairness the other week when this was pictured, you might miss that, but yeah, it's there. So when you come polish all this up, you can have a very big mark there of lacquer. So we ended up having to paint this mini quarter and the door already, and that's before we even sort out the mechanicals of this car. So what is wrong with this car? Well, I'll show you. Now, ignore the squeaking, which is the fan belt noise. That doesn't faze us, that's nothing. That's a really straightforward fix to sort. So ignore that. But what we've got here, it starts all right, it's fine. I've actually been out and driven this car, and it actually drives all right. It's a little bit sort of hesitant when you set off, and when you come to a standstill, it is again a little bit sort of, how can I describe it, sort of hunting a little bit. But generally when you're driving and flowing, it's alright, but there is something not quite right with it. And now as it's just basically, as we say, come off choke, or come off cold start, as you'd say, there is a very slight sort of shake we can feel through the car itself, and particularly through the wheel, almost like a small misfire, which I found obviously on the test drive. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean terrible news. It could be something straightforward. It could be a coil that's going down. It could be something really simple like the plugs are knackered. You'd be amazed when you get a car with knackered old spark plugs in that no one's bothered to change, how much of an issue that can cause with misfires and poor running. However, what seems to be happening is as the car gets warmer, this problem seems to get worse. And already now, as running it for less than a minute, the misfire is becoming more apparent. And if I can show you outside, you'll be able to see more closely what I'm on about. Right, join me under the bonnet. Now if we look closely, you'll just notice, you see how this engine is a little bit of a surge, if you like, a little bit of a misfire. There you go. So they say that is the misfire there is happening. You'll be able to check as well, if we go back down here to the exhaust, you might even actually see that there's got a little bit of a beat. So that is a definite misfire. Like I said, you can feel it through the steering wheel. Now, small misfire wouldn't necessarily always mean that you're going to get warning lamps on the dashes or going to limp mode or anything like that. It's like I said, a minor misfire, something like a plug that's going a little bit fouled, might not necessarily straight away throw up a fault. But obviously, you'll be looking at the dashboard to make sure you haven't got any warning lamps on the dash to say, you've got an actual fault, which make it more obvious that one of the sensors has picked up a misfire. But as you can see, we don't have any warning light on the dash. What I think's the issue, in fact, if we turn off the car now with ignition, is we put the key back in, start it up, you'll see the lights. Now appreciate with the art of modern filming, your lights might be flickering on the screen now. Put the flickering to one side, actually see what's missing off this screen. So if I turn that again, turn this on, we've got the ABS warning light there, that'll go out. There we go. The airbag warning light, for the child ones and the main ones have gone out as well. But have you noticed? There is no engine warning lamp at all. Not there. Completely gone. Now, is it because the car doesn't have one? Well, it does. In fact, all cars from 2003, I think it is, must have an engine management warning light system on it. If it doesn't have one, then it is actually a fail on the MOT. You have to have one, and you have to start the car, and it must go out. If it comes on during the test, then it's a fail. If it's over 2003. This one hasn't got one. And the reason it hasn't got an engine light is because I suspect someone has been devious and covered it up. So yes, basically someone has covered up the engine management light. Now, why would they do that? Well, probably to try and trick someone in when they're going to sell it. Maybe they've decided to put it through, like in this case, it's gone to auction, so it's probably been put into a dealer, and they might have blanked it off. Maybe it was just annoying them, and they decided just to get rid of a light, and then when the MOT was coming up or getting short, they decided to get rid of it. Or maybe they've actually fooled an MOT tester by covering the light up, and it's then gone for ticket, passed, because actually the car is drivable. I mean, it's not ideal, but it is drivable. So maybe they've just done that to just get around getting another MOT on it. Who knows? But the point is, it's supposed to have a light, and I want to sell this car, and it needs to be right. We need to get that sorted. But we need to dive deeper, because we need to find out actually, one, what have they done to the engine management light? Have they ripped it out, the bulb out? Have they filled it with silicone? What have they done? We need to fix that. But also, we need to scan it and actually find out what the problem was in the first instance as to why they decided to cover the engine light up. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's something really simple like a lambda sensor that's causing the issue, or a temperature sensor that could be causing an issue and might be responsible for a misfire. I'm not that confident though. I suspect there's more to this than meets the eye. Let's plug in the scanner and find out what the last owner was covering up. Now, the easiest way to do that is to scan the vehicle, and we're going to use our good friends from TOPDON, Artidiag 600S, which is their sort of entry diagnostic machine. It's actually a really cracking machine, one of our main machines we use here every day, because it's just simplistic to use. Whether you're skilled or even an amateur mechanic, this is the tool to have. There's a link in the description if you want to find one of these, and I'll talk more about these later, how you can get hold of one. But let's get it plugged in now, scan it, and I'll go through with you what we're going to hopefully try and find with this car, what the cause is and what they've actually hidden. Right, okay, so we're all plugged in on the OBD. We've got the ignition on now. So this is the Artidiag 600S from TOPDON. Very, very good machine as mentioned. Lots of features on this. It's got like 9 different service functions. It will do general OBD scanning. So that's basically like engine management scanning, but it'll also do more in-depth diagnostics. So it'll work on like ABS systems. It'll work on DPFs. It'll work on injector coding, throttle bodies. It's packed full of stuff, and this has actually been updated last year. And also it's good because it comes with free updates as well. So it keeps updating all the time. This is the main screen. So what you do is you plug your little OBD port into your 16-pin socket, fire it up. This is the main screen that you'll get. It's all touchscreen, by the way. Basic instructions on it on this main homepage. By diagnostics, we'll go into specific manufacturers. If you just want to scan an engine like this on, you can just press that one there, OBD 2, and that will just scan it quickly and give you basic, more generic codes, which in most occasions will be perfectly fine. But if you want more in-depth, you go through into diagnostics. It's got maintenance as well. This is what I was on about before. So these are actually specific maintenance or service functions that you can do. So oil resets on any vehicle, do all your oil resets, throttle body adaptations, so you're changing the throttle body, you clean them out, or you've got maybe some issues with idle, you can set them up on vehicles. Electronic park brakes, so some particularly French cars and German cars, well, lots of cars these days, electronic park brakes, you have to put them in service modes to take the pads out and pull the pistons back. That's for that. Steering problems, it'll do that. DPF problems and regens, ABS systems, the battery systems, like recoding new batteries and stuff. Injector coding, you need to put injectors in, usually diesels, and TPMS faults as well. So it's like packed full of stuff there. Now, you can find all that through diagnostics as well. So quickly by going on there, we can find all the major manufacturers. There is absolutely loads. I mean, some of them I've never even heard of, but you've got all major manufacturers from across the world. So we want Hyundai, which is, we could just try and find it through H, but it's just easy to go through continents. So we'll go through Asian. And there we are, Hyundai. Click on that one, and then we'll get an automatic search function or a manual. I usually just do manual because not that it's automatic function, sometimes it won't find specific vehicles. It's not very good with more Asian stuff usually. It's good for your European cars, but sometimes it can give you not the correct model. So I just tend to go through manually. You got then the area you're in, which is Europe, for where the car would originated from or been built, sent to. And then we've got all the manufacturers there, lots of these you've seen over the years. We're going to go down, it's in alphabetical order, and we're going to go find i10. Obviously this is a Hyundai i10. And we have got, there we go, i10. We've got 3 options there. Now, these use the actual model numbers, so we've got PA, I8 and AC3. Now I actually know, because I've scanned lots of these, that this model, which ran from 2008 to 2014, is a PA model. So if I click on that one, I can actually find the exact year. If you went on the wrong one, so let's say you weren't sure what the model was, you went on that one, you can actually see the years here, and you obviously work out that this is a 2013 car. I can't see a 2013 model there, so therefore go back, click on that one, and there we are. They see I've found now the 2013 model. Click on that, you've got your engine choices, 1.1 petrol engines, and they did a 1.2 as well. This is a 1.2. Most of them from 2012 onwards were 1.2s, and that'll tell you exactly there, this is European, what model it is, the year, and the engine. And we're all good with that one. Press OK. And then we've got 3 functions here. Vehicle profile basically just pulls up the same information we just had. Auto scan will go through any modules on the car. We'll get that in a sec, because that's what we need. And then hot functions. Hot functions basically gives up your sort of main features you can do on this particular make and model. So of the 9 functions we looked at earlier, these are the 3 you can do on here as well in the main screen. You go into general diagnostics for that particular make and model. So we can do a service reset, we could do throttle adaptations, we could do ABS bleeding on this car if we wanted to. We don't need to do that. We're looking to find out what the issue is on this engine light. So we're going to click on auto scan. It will show us the 4 modules on this car this machine can pick up. Now, excuse the second one, which is automatic transmission. It will scan for automatic transmission, but it obviously hasn't got automatic transmission, so that'll come back clear. But the other 3, airbags, ABS, ESP, so that's your steering, your ABS system, traction, it's going to scan that, and of course, crucially, it's going to scan engine as well. It says they're unscanned, so it's not actually touched any of these yet, but if we then click on auto scan there, it will start the process. Okay, so that's quickly now scanning through those, and as you can see there, straight away, we've got 3 modules coming back. It's obviously excluded the automatic transmission, and we've got fault codes. We've got 2 in engine and 1 in airbag. We'll quickly have a look at the airbag one first, just to see what that is, and that one is, there we go, it's now reading it. So we've got the main screen here, so we've got ECU information, we don't need that. Read the code, we could clear the code, or we can actually go into live data on the airbag system. We're just going to read the code first, On this one, it's battery low voltage, and crucially, it says history. So basically, at some point, the battery's been low, it's been stood around, it's a part exchange, and it's maybe at some point thrown the airbag light on, albeit temporarily. But as you can see here, it says history. History is important because history means that it's no longer got the issue. So i.e. on the last cycle, when the car started, it was up and running, did a scan, it was not present. The airbag light went out. So that's basically just saying that it's been a previous issue and it stores them. Some cars delete automatically, some save them. These do save them, so you can actually physically see that. So if we actually delete that code, it would not come back. So we're not concerned about that because that isn't actually a current fault. That's just down to a low battery voltage. And then we've got engine, and that's got 2 codes in. It's asking us a quick question about which fuel it uses. It's unleaded. And then from there, we've got this screen here. Again, we can read the codes. Again, we could clear them, but we don't want to do that. Live data, that's important because we can actually go through any sort of sensor on the car, and we can actually see the status of it and see what's happening when it's running or not running. And special function. Special function, by the way, if you're interested, is to set all the values back up. So for instance, if you put Lambda sensors on, you want to reset them, default them, you could do that. You could click on that and you could reset all the values on the sensors if you wanted to do that. Sometimes that is important to do if you typically be changing sensors and stuff like that, or you've had them out and cleaning them. We're going to read the codes, and here we are. Right, we've got to another problem. So we've got 2 codes here. Again, one is active, which is a current issue, and one is historic. The historic one is a system 2 lean at idle, bank 1. So that is a code that's no longer present. That doesn't mean that it might not come back. It might be linked to the fact of the first code here, which is the one I'm more worried about, and I suspect it will be the case, which is the exhaust camshaft position sensor B timing over advance, and that is currently active. So that's P0014. Now, I know what that cause is. It could be, if you're really lucky, it could just be the cam sensors faulty, and you could change the cam sensor and it could be absolutely fine. And obviously we have spare sensors here. We will try one anyway. I am 99% sure that it will not solve the problem because I've seen this so many times. It's something more serious than that, as we'll get to in a sec. What you can do as well, where's this good, particularly if you're maybe more on the amateur side and you want a bit of help, is you can actually see here we've got some further options. What we've got here is a information button that gives you the sort of information of that specific engine code and give you some information to check on it, what it does, what it means, and what possible causes could be. Doesn't mean it's foolproof, doesn't mean it's exactly going to be the issue with your car, but it gives you some information. Even more important, what this does as well, this scanner, click on confirm there, is we've got the search button here, which is when you've got it connected to the internet, which I recommend you do because you can update it all the time. You click on that one there, it'll actually go through and search that code for Hyundai P0014. You can even put I-10 in if you wanted to. Click Google, go straight over there, and I'll give you some videos, link it into YouTube videos. People have had the similar faults, or on the forums, stuff like that. I mean, let's be honest, most of us in the past, we've had an issue and we've scanned a car, we've gone on to Google to search, so that is a useful tool to have. Might give you some information on where to go with it. Now, I know, because I have done many of these, I'll drop the machine here, that the issue with this vehicle likely is to be down to the timing chain. Now, the 1.2 i10s suffer with timing chain stretching. They are fit with chains. The 1.1s were not. They were belt. These were chains. Now, everyone assumes chains are superb, never go wrong, they're brilliant, far better than a cam belt. Chains do have weaknesses, particularly on certain vehicles where they're just not designed right, or maybe just a flawed design, where they can stretch. And when they do stretch, even so slightly, it might not cause the engine to run particularly bad, but if it's only slightly out, the tolerance that's allowed on the vehicle, that it's programmed from factory, if it goes out of tolerance, it'll basically throw up an engine management fault, in this case, over timing. So i.e. the timing is slightly out. This cam sensor has picked up the wrong position for that chain when it's gone round and done its cycle. So that is why we've been flagged up that code. So the chain is probably stretched. Another sign you can find on these would be poor starting, rattling on startup, or in some cases you drive it and it feels underpowered and bogged down. Now this one isn't doing any of that, but I know from experience that on these in particular, they only have to be ever so slightly out and they will throw a chain issue on them. So it is highly likely that we are facing a timing chain problem, which is probably the reason why someone decided to cover up the engine management light for whatever reason, probably get it for an MOT or to sell it or to basically disguise it, because they didn't want to spend a lot of money to have this fixed, and unfortunately they're not cheap to do. So there we are, that is the issue with our vehicle. So it has got a timing chain problem, which to be honest with you, I sort of realised straight away as soon as they covered the light up that was likely to be the issue. If it'd been something more straightforward like a lambda sensor or something like that, I don't think it'd be likely that someone would go to the lengths of covering up the engine management system. But for that code, and bear in mind probably someone's already maybe had a go at maybe looking at a cam sensor issue, but I don't know, we'll have to have a look later on. But it's obviously been in somewhere and they've said it's a timing chain issue. For whatever reason, they've just decided to cover that up. So now we've got a couple of problems. One is we need to take the dash apart and actually get the engine light working properly. In fact, actually, I need to confirm actually the engine management light status. Back to the machine, I can quickly show you something really cool on this. Right, we go back onto the screen where we were before. We've got the read codes, clear codes, data stream. Go back onto data stream. So this is live data on the car. If we actually turn the car on, what we'll see is, there we go, lots of figures there moving as the engine's running. So things like the oxygen sensors, obviously vehicle speed. If we were driving it, we could tell us what the vehicle speed is. If we went to ABS, we could see what sensors are working, ABS sensors, and the speed, if you had an issue with those. It's given us all the live data of the engine in this case, because we're on the engine side. Now, if we keep going down, at some point, we should see something either called MIL or EML status, which is the engine management light system. On past it, there we go. MIL, so that is the management light status. And as we can see here, quite clearly, it's on. So the engine management light is on. That's crucial because obviously it's covered up at the moment, so we don't actually know, you can see here, where it's supposed to be. I'll show you. So when we turn the ignition on, we should have seen the engine management light between that battery and the coolant light, the overheat light. I'll show you that again. It should be nuzzled between there, so under this trip, that's where the engine light should be. Now, the engine light would now be on, technically, like a firm, like the battery light in amber, that would be on, and then you would start the car, it would do a run round for about a few seconds of the scanning, and then it would go out. So that's what's supposed to happen. But obviously, it's covered up, which is an MOT fail, and also very naughty. So we also know now that someone obviously has definitely covered up the light. So we obviously need to get the dash apart. We're going to have to reinstate that light, see what they've done. Most of the time they just cover them up with silicone or something stupid. I've even seen bits of tissue in there sometimes. So we need to get that out. Obviously we can see the light functioning properly, because obviously going forward, if there's ever an issue with this car again, no one's actually going to know, which is not a good thing. And obviously we want to make sure we cured the fault without having to physically go in every time and scan the car. We want to see actually the light on the dash and go out properly. We've got to sort that out. Once we've done that, we then can look at the next process, which is putting a timing chain on this vehicle. Now, unfortunately, on these Hyundai i10s, that is not cheap. It's not a particularly difficult job to do. It's no worse than, say, doing a Vauxhall Corsa or some of the other chains, small engines you can see out there. 1.2s, we do a lot of those on the Volkswagen, stuff like that. They can go wrong. They're all roughly about the same sort of time frame to do, a few hours really. But unlike things like the Corsas, where a chain on a Corsa costs us about £60–70 for the kit, unfortunately for the i10s, these kits are not readily available in the aftermarket, and the quality of them is, well, how can I put it, very poor that is available. So there's only really a few brands that we use, and even the cheapest kit is about 250 quid, and there doesn't seem to be really any better, cheaper alternative that you can use. I have been there before, done that with online kits off eBay, and basically they have been absolutely piles of rubbish, not sent out the correct bits for them, they're just poor quality. So I try to use sort of OE parts if we can, or in our case for this, we use a very good brand, which is British Gasket Association, BGA. You might have seen their logo on one of my gilets I wear. They're very good. They do all the timing chains. You know, pretty much every motor factory you'll go to will sell BGA parts, and the timing chains are very, very good. And that is probably the best option we can get that also works for us at this price point. Bear in mind, we're not trying to cheapskate. We want to fit decent parts, but we are dealing with older cars, budgets are tight. We need to make sure we're doing as much as we can on the budgets we've got in order so we can keep maintaining and selling these cars on. Say, because it's not the best of industries to be in selling the cheaper cars. You'll do far better selling more expensive cars, but we like doing this. So we have to try and balance it out where we can. We can't just go and throw a main agent's timing chain kit on it, which is 2–3 times the price. It doesn't make any logical sense. We find an alternative, and that's what we use. And we've used them many, many times before, and they've been excellent. Lastly, on the point of the diagnostic machine, because we do get asked for these a lot, and I always get asked to demo them, so I thought today there'd be a good opportunity to demo it, so you can see it in the flesh. Now, the TOPDON Artidiag 600S, which is the machine I've used today, it starts from about £140 retail. However, it is actually now back on promotion, so you've actually got a promo code on screen now you can use, and you can actually get a discount code and get it discounted to the price on screen now, saving you about 15%, I think it is. Not loads, but it is a discount, and you'll get access to, well, I think one of the best machines you can buy at the lowest possible price point. I mean, this is fantastic, really. This is really all you need in the modern world of cars. You go into a garage these days, you can get charged £60-70 just to scan your car. It's worth that alone because, like I said, use it once or twice and it's pretty much paid for itself. How many times have you been asked as well, friends or family, they've already got an issue with the car, can you have a look at it? Or that take it into a garage. If you've got a machine like that available, that is going to be able to save you and also friends and family not only a bit of money as well, but I'll give you a better idea of where you're going with this vehicle, because it could be something really straightforward to fix. In this case, it isn't going to be a straightforward fix, but it could be something straightforward like a lambda sensor or another sensor which you could easily sort out yourself. Or sometimes some cars just want resetting. It could be something straightforward as that. There's been battery issues and stuff and you can't get the light out. So a really good tool, and it also comes with lifetime updates as well, that machine, the 600S, so you never have to pay for ongoing subscriptions, which I really like, and it constantly updates all the time with specific manufacturers, updates, so it's always got the latest tech on there. So if you want to get one of those TOPDON machines, you can find it in the link description, the 600S, it is the top link there, and say with the promo code you could use as well to get your discount. Make sure you use our links in the description, please, because there are people out there selling the obsolete machine from last year. You don't want that, you want it from the proper supplier here in the UK that you get your warranty with, and of course you're making sure you get your free update. So please use that link in the description. And anyway, it's the cheapest price, so why would you bother going anywhere else? Okay, so what we're going to do with the little Hyundai i10. So we're going to do some quick maths with you. So the car, as mentioned earlier, costs £1,700 with all the fees. And with the mileage on that car, it would have been a really good price had we not needed to now spend, well, quite a lot of money in dealing with issues that were not really raised properly on the auction site. Now, that is my fault. I'm not going to start blaming the auction company. I think they could do better. But the reality is I didn't go to the sale. And if I don't go to the sale, you're going to be on the back foot. And this is why I always say to people that you shouldn't really be buying online. Generally, I only buy sort of stuff that I know that I really can't really get too burnt on. I mean, it doesn't always work, but 9 times out of 10 it does usually work for me. And most of the time I end up going to the sales anyway. So it's never usually a problem. But greed got the better of me, sitting on my sun lounger, and ended up buying, say, a couple of cars, which in hindsight, if it's a Hyundai's sake, I probably would not have bought if I'd known what work needed doing to it. The Captur, the Renault, I'm not actually that bothered about that. That is needed a little bit more work than described, but we're all right with that. This i10, well, maths wise, 1,700 quid paid, plus we're going to spend probably another couple £100 on paint. We're going to spend another £250 just on the chain kit alone. There'll probably be other things as well mechanically we need to do to it. We haven't even got to the standard prep on it, so forget the paint we've now got to spend money on, which we weren't aware of. We've also got to spend money on the engine now. Also, as well, there's going to be stuff underneath, generally sort of suspension stuff, disc and pads, tyres, whatever, servicing kits as well. We're easily going to be into the reams of about £700 if we're lucky to get this into what we call retail state. All of a sudden, that £1,700 car is now £2,400, and it's probably got a retail price of around, if you were pushing it, £31.95 probably would be its money. We sold a couple of those recently at sort of 13, 14 place at that level. So I think it would stand that. But already there, you're on about 600-700 quid, let's say £700 if you're really lucky, profit out of the car. However, that doesn't necessarily mean your 700 quid is your final profit, because you've also got to pay VAT, and dealers who are VAT registered have to pay VAT on the purchase price against the sale price, regardless of whatever you spend in between. So for instance, £1,700 paid, if you sell it for £3,200, you have to pay VAT on the difference between £1,700 and £3,200, and you pay a slightly less fraction. Standard VAT is 20%. With slightly different scheme for cars, it's about 16.6% or something silly like that. So we have to pay a 16.6% margin on 1,500. That's the difference between 1,700 and 3,200. Regardless of the fact that we only make £700 of profit, physical, it doesn't matter. It has to work from those two numbers. So that's 250 quid of VAT. So straight away, you're now at £450 of profit, and bear in mind you've got to stand by this car as well. We're going to give probably a 3-month warranty with it as standard, which you do on most cars at that sort of price point. But also, even past your warranty, you still have some obligations, particularly in the first 6 months, where if something major happened and it was there at the time of sale, you could still be liable for it. So a lot of risk for a little return. Now, should we then go on with it? So in which case, should we be going on with it? Should we just turn around and say, do you know what, forget it, it isn't worth the hassle, let's just get rid of it now and get out of it. Now, don't get me wrong, if someone walked in here now and offered me my money back for it before we even touched it, I probably would just accept that and go, thanks very much and see you later. However, I don't think anyone's going to come in now and buy it for 1,700 quid because they've seen what's wrong with it. And the reality is I don't want to start now having to put it back in auctions. I don't think we'll get our money back. We might get somewhere close, but then you've got to pay fees and stuff like that. We're just going to end up blowing money. The reality is we're confident enough to fix the vehicle, i.e. just put a new chain on it and basically suck up the costs and just basically go on with it. Yes, we won't get anywhere near the margin out of it, but it's not a loss, and at the end of the day, this is quite rare. We don't get many cars that end up burning us, to be honest with you. And if you buy 20 cars and one of them you don't make money out of, the other 19 you've done okay out of. And that's just the way it is. So we are going to plod on with it because we think we can still make a good car out of it. And we might get a little bit of a drink out of it. At the end of the day, at least we'll be repairing a car that will probably serve someone for many, many years on the road. It's a cheap run around and it will sell pretty quickly. So anyway, all being well, assuming that we don't find any issues when we start stripping it down, any sort of butchery or anything like that, or we turn it out to be a lemon, we will crack on with it and make a car out of it. And crucially, I will learn from this that you should not buy cars online auction, particularly when you're sitting on a sun lounger. And you guys can remind me not to buy cars from online auctions without seeing them in the next video in a few months' time, when I make the same mistake again, when you get sort of greedy and end up buying something online that looks too good to be true. Because most of the time, it usually is. So anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. There is another pitch update video coming out in just a few days' time. Going to go through everything that's gone on since I've come back from my holidays. Lots has happened, lots of vehicles sold, and some new arrivals as well. And we're also going to be back at the auctions this week as well. We're going to do some general sales, so you can check out that later in the week. So thank you for watching this one. You can like and subscribe by hitting that bell button down there, and that subscribe button helps me out immensely, so please do that. And also as well, the TOPDON products are in the link description below. Click down there, you'll find the link, click onto their eBay store, you can purchase them there, use the promo code, whack it in, and you'll get your discount and get your machine. So make sure you check that one out. Thanks again, I'll see you all in the next one.